أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. So as you know, we are all here together to, inshallah, talk about three main aspects that I have mentioned in the title. So I just like to structure it and try and stick to the structure. Virtues, opportunities, and then we're going to talk about, we're going to reflect on some of the stories of Ibrahim alayhi salam. A lot of the times, a lot of our lessons we learn are from Musa alayhi salam's story. And Musa alayhi salam, almost you could say, he is, all across the Quran. But if you really think about it, the stories of Ibrahim alayhi salam are also extremely deep and profound, and there are so many lessons in them. I wish if there was time, if we could just talk about Ibrahim alayhi salam and, a lot of the lessons that we can learn from his life. But today we're going to limit it to, things related to Hajj and Dhul Hijjah, inshallah. I hope that some of you are able to actually go for Hajj this year, and if not, then I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites you in the near future, inshallah. So the days of Dhul Hijjah, interestingly, even though they are so important and they have so much virtue and so much significance, they get very easily overlooked. And there are very few people who actually pay attention to the days of Dhul Hijjah. And that is unfortunate, because we are really missing out on a huge chunk of khair by not paying attention to Dhul Hijjah and its importance. Okay, so I want to make this interactive, so I am going to be asking you a lot of questions, and you can either unmute yourselves or you can write in the chat box. So can anyone tell me, on what basis do we say that the days of Dhul Hijjah are special, or, that there is a virtue attached to them? What is the main basis for that? Yes? Someone's raised their hand.
Two things. Sorry.
Yes.
Sister Rabina here. Two things. One is from the Quran, which says Wal Fajr, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking the Wawul Qasam. He's vowing about these days. And second, from the Hadith, there's a very beautiful Hadith. I think Ibn Abbas narrated that these 10 days are the most right, where the deeds performed are most dearest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm paraphrasing, I'm not able to quote. And they said, the companions asked, even jihad? He says, yes. Even jihad for a person who goes out with his wealth and life and comes out without them. So these days, so in the Quran and Sunnah, it has been mentioned.
Okay, excellent. So I'm just going to summarize what she said. I'm sorry, Sister Nazneen, she's already answered, but inshallah, maybe you can answer next time. So the first point is that when Allah swears by something, when Allah takes an oath by something, it by default or automatically, it attaches an importance to that thing. And it makes that thing special, it makes that thing important, it adds an extra value to that thing. So when Allah swears by a mountain, or Allah swears by a fruit, or Allah swears by a certain day or a certain time, anything Allah swears by becomes extra important and extra special. And so similarly, when Allah swears by these days, and Allah says wal fajr wa layalin ashr wa shaf'i wal watr, that oath or that swearing of Allah by these days makes them extra special and extra virtuous, and attaches an extra value and an extra place to these days. Now, can anyone tell me when Allah says wal fajr, which fajr is he talking about? Which fajr is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swearing by? Okay. No one? Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by the fajr of the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Does anybody know what is special about the 10th of Dhul Hijjah? What happens on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah? It is also known as what?
Yawm al-Nahar.
Yes, very good. It's the Yawmun Nahar, or it's the day of sacrifice. And when Allah says wal fajr, he's talking about the fajr on the day of Nahar. Okay, so Allah swears by the day of Nahar. Then Allah says wal fajr wa layalin ashr. Okay, now when Allah says layalin ashr, technically he's swearing by the 10 nights, but night and day is used interchangeably, and so it's actually referring to the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. So he swears by the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, and then he says wash-shaf'i wal-watr. Does anybody know what Allah is referring to when he says wash-shaf' wal-watr?
Odd and even?
Yes, but specifically what is Allah swearing by here? Okay, so if you look at the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, when he says wash-shaf', that is the even, and that is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. And when he says wal-witr, he's talking about the odd, which is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah. Okay, so Allah is specifically swearing again by the day of Nahar and the day of Arafah. So that is wal fajr, the morning of Nahar, wa layalin ashr, the 10 days, wa shaf, the day of Nahar, wal witr, which is the day of Arafah, which is the 9th. Okay, so this level of you could say Allah has sworn to this extent, and in so much detail, you could say. So specifically Allah has sworn by these days, and so you can imagine the importance of these days. Now, another thing that I want to tell you to try and help you appreciate the importance of these days. And, really we need to ask ourselves that why have we never given these days as much importance as they deserve? So, first of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sworn by them. Secondly, as Rabina mentioned, in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, in a hadith by Ibn Abbas, where he reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, there are no days in which righteous deeds are more beloved to Allah than these 10 days. The people asked, not even jihad for the sake of Allah? And jihad, as you know, is an extremely honorable deed to do in Islam. He said, not even jihad for the sake of Allah, except in the case of a man who went out to fight, giving himself and his wealth up for the cause, and came back with nothing. So this is someone who went for jihad and he becomes shaheed, right? So he loses everything, including his life. So no one other than that would have been able to do better deeds in these 10 days than somebody who has become shaheed. Now, just to illustrate to you the importance of these days, I want to tell you a hadith in which a man came to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, instruct me to such a deed as equals to jihad in reward. He replied, so this is a man, he's asking the Prophet ﷺ that tell me something I can do which has the same ajr as jihad. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ replied, I do not find such a deed. Okay, then he added, so the Prophet ﷺ, he said, I don't know of any deed which comes close to jihad in terms of reward and ajr. Then he says, can you, while the mujahid is in the battlefield, enter your mosque, perform prayers without stopping, so continuous prayers, and fast and never break your fast. Until the mujahid has gone to fight and until he returns, can you constantly pray and constantly fast? The man said, who can do that? So he's saying this is an impossible thing. Nobody can do that. No one is capable of doing that. And so basically this hadith is showing us that jihad is such a noble and honorable and rewarding act that there is no action that comes close to it. But these 10 days, they supersede even jihad fi sabilillah. So the reason I'm telling you this is because there are Sahaba who earned Jannah through spending 1 hour in jihad, right? We know people who did not even offer one single salah, but they went to fight fi sabilillah, they went for jihad, and they were killed. And the Prophet ﷺ said his action was little, but his reward is great, right? This clause, adding this clause about jihad to this hadith about the days of Dhul Hijjah, it really puts it in, it really defines the importance of these 10 days, and it puts these 10 days in a league of their own, right? And it really massively elevates the importance of these days, because we know that to do jihad or to do an action equal to jihad is very, very difficult. And like I said to you, that there are so many, there are Sahaba who earned Jannah through an hour in jihad, for example. Here you have got hours and hours and hours for 10 days to earn your Jannah. And not even jihad can be equal to the actions during these days. So can you imagine the importance and the virtue and the greatness of these 10 days? Subhanallah, even though I said to you that, today it's all going to be about Ibrahim alayhi salam, but I want to ask you, does anybody know any story related to these 10 days and to a Nabi? So I have sort of given you a hint, but anyone? Okay, so, Musa alayhi salam, yes?
Yes, Musa alayhi salam.
Yes, okay, very good. Do you know the story, sister? Okay, I'll mention the story, inshallah. So Musa alayhi salam, he has a meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so he's asked to fast for a whole month. He fasts for 30 days before he meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before Allah speaks to him. And some people say he fasted in Ramadan, some people say he fasted the 30 days of Dhul Qa'dah. And then he had a smell in his mouth, for which he cleaned his teeth with siwak. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him to fast 10 more days. Because this smell is beloved to Allah, and Allah did not want him to remove the smell from his mouth. So he fasted another 10 days, and those are the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. And then he meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the 10th day. So again, here again we see a connection with Musa alayhi salam. But just symbolically, you hope and you aspire, through listening and learning from these stories, that you want to do some amazing actions during these 10 days. So at the end of these 10 days, you are worthy as well of, on the day of Qiyamah, you are worthy of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Just as Musa alayhi salam, at the end of these 10 days, that's when he speaks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is also when he asks Allah that he wants to see him. But that's a separate thing. But I'm just saying that there are a lot of lessons that we can extract from these stories. Okay. As we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he decides which days or months or people he honors. And everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created is not the same. Allah has attached a special importance to certain things. And this is entirely Allah's decision. And if you think about it, there is a huge blessing and ni'mah in this. Because imagine if everything was exactly the same, through and through. If all the people were the same, the days were the same, the months were the same, there would be no excitement. There would be, there wouldn't really be anything to look forward to. It would just be very, very monotonous, right? Whereas with these, highs and lows or peaks and dips, it keeps us on our toes, it keeps us excited, it keeps us anticipated, it keeps us planning. And it's very important that if you understand now how important and significant these days are, through some of the examples I have given you, that you also realize that there is no way, under no circumstances, should you enter these days without planning, right? You must have some kind of a plan, and we're going to talk about that inshallah today as we carry on. But I was just saying that it is a blessing from Allah that Allah has kept this variety in our deen, right? Allah has kept a variety in our life, in the days that we go through, in the months that we go through. So it gives us an opportunity so that if we feel we missed out somewhere, then we know that, okay, inshallah, I will make up for this in the next coming months, right? Because you know that there's another opportunity for ajr coming up. And similarly, if you miss this, then you think, okay, I missed this, but I'm going to make up in the next opportunity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to earn ajr and to get closer to Him. So, for example, we had the last 10 nights of Ramadan, okay, and then straight after that we had Eid. So similarly, we have these 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, and then straight after that we have Eid. In Ramadan, we had a special night, right? We had Laylatul Qadr, in which we tried to strive and push ourselves, and that is the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very, very merciful, and He frees so many people from the hellfire. What is the equivalent of that we have in Dhul Hijjah? Anyone?
We have the day of
19.
That's right. Yeah, we have
Yawm al-Arafah.
That's right. We have the day of Arafah, which is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. And that is again an opportunity for us, right? To beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and to free us from the fire. So you see, you just had an opportunity in Ramadan, and in case any of us, maybe some of us were traveling, maybe somebody was sick, maybe somebody was oblivious or careless, right? And you missed that opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you another opportunity. If la qadar Allah, you miss this opportunity, inshallah, you have Muharram coming up. Then you have the fast of Muharram. What I'm saying is that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very kind. This is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He repeatedly gives us opportunity after opportunity to earn and to get closer to Him and to ask for His forgiveness and save ourselves from the fire. I just wanted to make that point as well, that this is a very special thing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a special gift for us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has given us yet another opportunity to earn some extra ajr. Okay. Another very special thing about these days of Dhul Hijjah is that this is the only time when all 5 pillars of Islam you experience all 5 of them in one place. Okay? So, of course, you have the Shahada, then you have Salah, you have fasting, you have the fast of the day of Arafah, and then it's encouraged to fast throughout the 9 days as well. And then you have sadaqah, right? These are good actions that we should be doing during these days, because like we said, that these are the best days. So any deeds you do during these days are extra rewarding. And then you have Hajj, right? So you have all 5 pillars expressed during this time, and you don't have any other, place in the entire year where all 5 pillars fall under one umbrella, right? So this is again something very special about these days. And like I said, a lot of people, when Dhul Hijjah starts, people are going away on holiday, people are throwing parties, people are just carrying on with their life, and they demarcate the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. They say, oh, this is the day of Arafah, this is the day I want to I want to keep aside to do some ibadah and all that. That is all very well, but we must pay attention to the 8 days preceding the day of Arafah as well, because like we said, that all these days from the 1st to the 10th are extremely special and extremely important. Okay. All right. So that is with regards to the virtues and the importance and the significance and the honor attached to these days of Dhul Hijjah. Now we will talk about the opportunities. So when I say opportunities, I'm talking about what can we do during these days, and how can we try and multiply our gains. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also talks in the Quran about these things. He refers to them as a transaction. Because if you think about it, I think to a lot of us, this is what makes sense, right? When we think of success or benefit or gains or multiplying our gains, we think monetary gains. That's just our nature, right? We think of how we can multiply our bank accounts, or how I can increase my wealth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also gives the analogy of a transaction or trading. And you have to think of this time as you could say like a special offer. You can think of it as a vault. You can think of it as a special opportunity to earn more. Okay, so yes, you are not earning cash or wealth, but if you were to think of it like that, that's the only way it will make sense to you as to how you want to now earn good deeds. Okay, so again, if I was to say to you that this is a vault and it is full of gold and silver and cash, and I'm going to open this vault for 10 days, you will go crazy, right? You will just try and get as much out of this vault as you can. So similarly, Allah has given you these 10 days and you have to maximize them. And like I said, this might be your opportunity to earn your Jannah. Of course, nobody enters Jannah without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah and His mercy. But at the same time, like I said to you last time, that the grades in Jannah, they will come from your deeds, right? Entering Jannah is from Allah's mercy. But rising and, how high you get in Jannah, this is through your actions. So try to earn as much as you can. This is the season of earning, right? This is your opportunity. Make the most of it. Again, we don't know if we will get another chance to witness the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, right? Shaitan, he gives us these long false hopes, right? We think that, oh, next year I will do this. In 3 years, I will do this. In 5 years, I will do this. We don't even know if we will live in the next 3 days. So this is your opportunity. Make dua that you reach these 10 days of Dhul Hijjah and make the most of them. So if I was to just if I was to just, you could say, divide, or I'm thinking of another word better than divide. If I was to just put, subtitles on what are the opportunities we have during these days, I will just give you 6 main sort of like subtitles, and then there's a lot that goes under each of these, because otherwise, if we leave it open-ended, then it just it can become very overwhelming, right? And you can start thinking that, oh, I don't know where to start, I can do this and I can do that. So let's give like some 6 main titles, and then you can subdivide them, or you can have a lot of subtitles under those. Okay, so the best deed during these days, does anybody know what is the best thing to do during these days? Anyone?
Fasting?
No.
Repentance?
No.
The best will be Hajj, of course. Hajj.
Takbir.
Yes, okay.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Okay, so
Takbirat.
the best deed, like
La ilaha illallah.
Rabina said, is Hajj. Okay. So of course, this is for those who are able to do Hajj during this time, but that is the best thing to do during these days is Hajj. The second thing is what Sister Farah said, is the dhikr of Allah, specifically takbir, tahmeed, tahleel, and tasbih. Okay, so the saying of Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, La ilaha illallah, and Alhamdulillah. Okay, so this dhikr is of the highest value during this time. And this, again, if you think about it, is such a huge blessing and mercy from Allah, that Allah did not make this difficult for us to earn, right? Allah could have set a different kind of action for us to do during this time, which we would have struggled with. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so easy and so doable for us. You could be ironing, you could be washing dishes, you could be walking, you could be driving, you could be sitting, standing, you could even be in a conversation with someone. And you can constantly do these actions, which is to remember Allah by saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. Right? Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. And we're not able to do any of these things without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tawfiq or His permission. So this is a huge mercy and blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has given us some of the easiest things to do with the greatest reward. And so if we miss out on these things, you can imagine how deserving we are. If you can't even do this much, then you do really deserve to just miss out and lose, right? Because Allah is giving you every opportunity to earn. He's giving you every opportunity to get high up. So if we still lose, then it reflects really badly on us. I mean, you have to basically, it's almost as if you don't have to really work hard to earn, you have to really work hard to lose, right? You'd have to really lose out to even lose something, so simple. The third thing, again, not in any accurate order, but the third action during these days, which is very rewarded, is udhiyah. Okay, is the sacrifice. So for those of us who are able to, we should try and offer a sacrifice in the form of an animal. And you can send the sacrifice to Makkah, or you can do it in the hometown of wherever you live, or you can do it in a country where you feel it is needed the most. It's entirely up to you, but it is a highly rewarding action to do the udhiyah at this time. And the person who is doing the udhiyah, he can do it on behalf of his family members, but the person who is doing it, he needs to refrain from trimming his nails, trimming his hair, or breaking or tearing any part of his skin, and that has to start from the 1st of Dhul Hijjah. Can anyone tell me what do you think could be the significance of this? Why do you think we are asked to refrain from these actions? Anybody?
To mimic the Hajis.
Yes, exactly. To just in solidarity with the muhrims, right? The people who are in ihram during Hajj, just to feel a bit of closeness with them, and to, like she said, to be similar to them. So we will abstain from these things. Okay. The next thing, number 4, again, these are like the major categories that I'm putting, is the fast. Okay, so the fasting is of 2 types. You have either just the fast of the day of Arafah. So if someone is pregnant or nursing and they're struggling and it's difficult for them to fast, at least try to fast the day of Arafah. Those who are able to, it is good if you fast all 9 days. So from the 1st to the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, if you can fast, that's amazing. And then, of course, the 10th is the day of Udhiyah, when it is haram to fast. And 11th, 12th, and 13th are the days of Tashriq, when it is also haram to fast. Right? So if you are able to, you fast from the 1st to the 9th. Then you have general good deeds that you can do. And we will talk about this in a little while once I've finished with the last point, which is number 6, which is the day of Arafah. Okay, this is a huge opportunity that Allah gives us during these days of Dhul Hijjah. He gives us the day of Arafah. There are some specific things that happen during the day of Arafah. Would anybody like to tell me one at a time? If anyone.
Religion was perfected.
Yes.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends to the lowest heaven with pride.
Okay, I want to just give somebody else a turn now. So she has said 2 things. The ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have perfected your religion for you. The second thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends to the lowest heaven. Anyone else? Do you know anything else that is very special about the day of Arafah?
Allah forgive many people.
Yes, the greatest number of people who are forgiven and freed from the hellfire is on the day of Arafah. What does that? Yes, okay, very good. Allah boasts to the angels about his slaves who are disheveled and they have all gathered. Very good, excellent, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of 2 years, the previous year and the coming year, if you fast on the day of Arafah. What is the result of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiving so many people on the day of Arafah? What does that cause? What is the consequence of that? When Allah forgives and frees so many people from the fire. Anyone? What do you think? How do you think the shaitan feels?
He runs away.
The shaitan, he feels the most humiliated on this day. Why do you think he is the most humiliated on this day? Anyone? Yes, that's right. He has worked so hard. He has worked so hard. And in the case of some people, he has worked for years and years. And years of his efforts are demolished and made zero on this one day. So he is the most humiliated on this day. Because where he had, got somebody to the point of entering the hellfire, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven them. So he's the most humiliated on this day. What is the best thing to say on this day? Anyone? So excellent. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the best supplication is that which is made on the day of Arafah. The best of it is what was said by myself and the prophets before me. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shayin qadir. The best dua is the dua on the day of Arafah, between Asr and Maghrib. Yeah? So these are the best, most precious hours. If it is possible, isolate yourself during this time. Get away from everything and everyone, because you have the whole day ahead of you to do whatever else you have to do. These are precious moments which will not come again, and you don't know if you will live to see them again. So use this time as much as you can to make dua to Allah. Okay? So these are some of the special things about the day of Arafah. Okay? Now, going back to our point that we said about good deeds. Again, since Ramadan finished and the last 10 nights of Ramadan finished, then we had Shawwal, where, some of us tried to do the 6 fasts of Shawwal. Then we had Dhul Qa'dah. A lot of us start feeling a dip in our iman, right? You start feeling that I'm not doing as much as I was doing. I need to be doing more. I'm not reciting as much Quran as I was. I feel my iman is getting a bit weak, right? You start feeling this dip, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he helps you, and he, this is an opportunity for you to pick yourself up. So can you all today try and plan for yourselves that during these 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, I will try my best to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any 5 things that you want to do, and you can add more to that list if you can or if you want to. And one of the most important things that I want you to focus on is giving up bad deeds, whatever it might be. Okay? I personally feel that it is much harder to give up bad actions than it is to do good actions. And when you give up bad actions, it makes you feel so good, and it makes you feel so light and so happy and so ecstatic. You feel like flying. So you need to also have a list of things you want to give up, or you want to change, or you want to improve. Okay? And that can be a shorter list, because it is tougher to give things up. It is easier to do actions, but it is very tough to give things up. It takes a long time. It takes time to train yourself to to stop doing certain things. So whatever that might be, whether you are watching something or listening to something, or you are indulging in more riba than you should, or you are doing salah but you're delaying it to the last moments, just before it's about to finish. So it could be anything that you think is something that, I need to improve this, I need to change this, I need to stop this. So you need to have a short list of that, like maybe 1, 2, 3, and then you need to have a list of some good things that you want to do. And I would like you all to please write that down now. You can think a little bit and you can write it down. And if people can just mention one thing on that list, if like I said, if it's very personal, you don't have to. But if you think that, this is going to help somebody, it might give somebody else an idea to do this, please mention it, whether it's something that you want to give up or it is something that you want to do. You can either put it in the chat box, and then I will read out some of the things that I had in my mind as well. So very good. Praying salah on time, excellent. Especially in countries where you don't hear the adhan, it's so easy sometimes to miss a salah from its time and then try and make up for it or pray it in its last time. Okay, practice tajweed, revise your hifz, recite more Quran, pray with khushu, excellent. So salah is something that we all need to work on and improve. We need to improve the quality of our salah. It's not just about doing lots and lots of rakahs, it's about connecting with Allah, and we need to try and do that more. Okay, try to memorize more. Leave doubts and useless talk. Excellent. I think a lot of us indulge in a lot of unnecessary, especially social media. It tends to pull you into a lot of unnecessary chit chat. So try and cut that out. Being kinder to our children, and not just our children, but trying to be kinder to the rest of our family as well. That's a really, really good thing to try and implement, and to try and because it's your family really who sees the real side of you. And the Prophet ﷺ, he did not tell us that you have to be the best to your community, or you have to be the best to your teachers, or you have to be, we are encouraged to have good manners with everyone, but when it comes to being the best, he told us to be the best with our family. And that is so beautiful, and it is so significant, and they are really the people who see the ugliest side of us. So yes, we need to be better behaved with our children. We need to be better behaved with our spouse, our parents, our siblings. Praying duha or ishraq, very good. Yes, trying to improve relations with neighbors, siblings, friends, excellent. Yes, we all need to try and cut away as much as possible from social media. It really does suck you in, and it sucks up a lot of your precious time. Making up with people that you have had a fallout with, whether it's friends or family, yes, that is definitely a good deed to do during this time. Excellent. Be less arrogant and more humble. A lot of people have this attitude of, self-righteousness, or that feeling that I'm better than such and such, or at least I don't do this, or I'm like this. So we should be careful of this kind of attitude, because it could be very displeasing to Allah, and it could be that Allah forgives that person who's doing XYZ, which is a bad deed, but Allah might be angry with you because of your arrogance and your pride. So arrogance and pride is definitely something we need to work on, and we're going to touch on this inshallah when I talk about Ibrahim alayhi salam. Daily sadaqah, excellent. So with the sadaqah, I wanted to just make a point, and the sister has said a very good thing, mashallah. She said even if it's £1 a day. So all of us, we're not loaded. I understand that, right? But these 10 days are the best 10 days to do anything. So any salah that you do during these 10 days is better than the salah you do in any other day. Any sadaqah you give during these 10 days is better than any, even if you give 100,000 on another day, the small sadaqah you do during this time will be more precious than a large sadaqah you do somewhere else, right? The kindness you show to people, the Quran that you recite, the tahajjud that you pray, the fasting, that all these actions are much, much, much more valuable during these days than they are on any other day, right? Okay, that we understand. Now, when it comes to sadaqah, let's try to do a little bit every single day so that we maximize our gains, right? So let's say you say that I don't have that much wealth. So let's say you say, I have 20 pounds that I can spare, or I have 100 riyals that I can spare as sadaqah, and I don't have anything beyond that, okay? So what you do is you divide the 20 pounds, or you divide the 100 riyals, or whichever currency applies to, wherever you guys are, and you divide that by 10, and in such a way that every day you give something, and you're still well within your means, okay? So I'm just trying to help you to maximize your gains, all right? So that every single day you get this ajr written for you, and you stay within your means. So it's a good idea to plan it now and say, okay, how much can I spare? Can I spare 10,000? Can I spare 2,000? Can I spare 200? Whatever it is that you can spare. Figure that out now, divide it, and then try and do it every single day so that you get ajr every day. Staying positive, very good. Optimistic. Again, we will talk about this inshallah when we talk about Ibrahim alayhi salam. But to me, staying positive means having good hope in Allah. having good expectations from Allah, right? Thinking well of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what being positive means to me. And that is very, very important. And again, like I said, we will talk about it in a little while. Being more forgiving, very good. So like we said, if you have had a fallout or anything like that, forgive people and, move on. Controlling anger, excellent. Patience. Tawbah is very, very important during this time. We must clean our hearts so that our hearts are receptive and we're able to receive the mercy and the rahmah and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so sincere tawbah is important. And again, that goes back to leaving sins, right? Making most of your early hours, excellent. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that, that the barakah of my ummah is in the early hours. And a lot of us, we miss out on these early hours. So definitely try and make more of that. And stop procrastinating and controlling your anger. Excellent. A lot of us need to try and if you get a chance, go back and listen to the hadith that I did about anger. But yes, we do need to channel our energy into something more positive. Okay, so you guys have given some excellent things to for people to think about that you can include in your list of what you want to try and achieve during these 10 days. Reflect on your past year and your sins and your slips, and try and enter these 10 days as as you are right now, but then leave them as a better person. Leave these 10 days. Don't leave these days just as you entered them. When you leave these 10 days, there should be a difference in you, okay? There should be some reflection over whatever has already transpired in the past, and you should have made some changes. Free your heart of hatred, malice, jealousy, envy, hasad, hiqad. Take these things out of your heart. Just let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decide who He gives, how much He gives, what He gives, and He decides. This is out of His wisdom. So when somebody has some blessings, you should be happy for them. And you should, if you want those things, make dua that Allah blesses this thing for them. And Allah gives them more. And when you make dua for someone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angels will say Ameen for you. And you will also benefit from that dua. Okay, so being jealous is just going to burn your good deeds. It's going to burn your hasanat. So instead of being jealous, which shows that we are saying basically that Allah doesn't know how to divide things, I know better how these things should have been divided. Na'udhu billahi min dhalik, right? This is what we're saying when we're being jealous. We're saying we don't trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's division of blessings. But of course, nobody knows better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah has blessed somebody with something, be happy for them. Be happy for that. Make dua for them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you as well. Quran, fasting, fard salah on time. So do extra things, but try and improve your faraid. Try and improve the quality of your faraid. Okay. Birrul walidain, if you have parents, try to be nicer to them than you have been. Elderly parents can be very childish. It can be very challenging being patient with them, but try to do these things. Be kind to your neighbors. Be kind to your relatives, your kith and kin. Feed the people if you can. Try and increase in your sunnah prayers, your nawafil. Try to become more regular with your tahajjud. Increase the time of your tahajjud. If you've been praying 10 minutes or 15 minutes before Fajr, try and make it half an hour. Try and make it 40 minutes before Fajr. Gradually try and, increase these actions. Okay. So that's about the opportunities and, our chance to try and just remember, this is a vault that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened, and He's left open for 10 days. This is your time to earn and maximize your earnings as much as you can. Try to earn, a high station in Jannah. Try to earn your Jannah, inshallah. Okay, so the next thing that we will go on to is the last part, inshallah, and I don't have much time, but I basically wanted to extract some lessons from the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Normally, when we talk about the days of Dhul Hijjah, we just talk about the virtues and the opportunities, and that's it. For me, Dhul Hijjah is the time to reflect so much on the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, on his life, and the trials and tribulations that he faced, and how he faced them, and how he came out of them. Now, there is Ibrahim alayhi salam. Again, his life is full of stories and lessons. There are many stories from him, but I just want to focus on 3 that are connected to the Hajj. Okay, and the first story is when he is asked to leave Hajar alayhi salam in the valley of Makkah. Okay. Does anybody know who Hajar alayhi salam was and how she came into Ibrahim alayhi salam's life?
She was a slave of the king. She was given as a gift to Sarah.
Yes, very good. So when the king thought that this woman was bewitched and she was trying to harm him, when he tries to approach her, she makes dua and he becomes weak and he falls. You can go back and look at the story. I don't have time to narrate that whole story, but he thinks that this woman is going to cause me harm and she is some sorcerer or something. So he tells his guards to take her, and he says, compensate her and tell her to go, and leave me and go far away. So as a compensation, she is gifted Hajar alayhi salam, who is a slave in the palace of the Pharaoh, and she is given as a gift to Sarah. Okay? And then eventually she ends up marrying Ibrahim alayhi salam, or Ibrahim alayhi salam marries her. And he does not have any children with Sarah. So he has a child with Hajar alayhi salam. And this child is called Ismail alayhi salam, right? And so Ibrahim alayhi salam makes dua for a child. As you know, he does not have any children. And about 13 years or so after making dua constantly for a child, or after making dua for a child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses him with a baby. And you can imagine, for someone who does not have a child, after so many years to have a child, how attached and how special this child must be, and how attached they must feel to this child, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs him to leave them. So he goes from Palestine, where he is, and it is said that he rides the buraq, the same beast that the Prophet ﷺ rides, and that takes him to Jerusalem and then for his mi'raj. So it is said that Ibrahim alayhi salam rides the buraq, and he is taken to this area because he doesn't know where he's instructed to leave them, and so he is shown where he has to leave them. And so he takes them to this valley, and he leaves them along with a few dates and some water, and he turns around and he starts walking away. So when he turns around and starts walking away, Hajar alayhi salam is confused because she has not been told anything. And so she starts following him, and she starts asking him that, what are you leaving, who are you leaving us to? You just like dropped us off in the middle of nowhere. What's going on? I mean, she's got a baby with her, right? So she starts following him, and he doesn't say anything, and he keeps walking. And then finally she asks him, Allahu amaraka bihada, that did Allah instruct you to do this? And he signals to her in some way in which he responds to her question in the affirmative, right? So he says yes, but he does not turn around, and he does not want to make eye contact with her or get into conversation with her, because we know that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's known as being Halim, right? He's known as having a very, very soft heart. So for him to see his wife and his baby being left like that, this is not an easy thing for him to have to do. And so he's not making any eye contact with them or anything, and he just keeps walking and he doesn't turn around. But when he answers her or she gets the response that this is an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she stops following him and she says that إِذَنْ لَنْ يُضَيِّعَ اللَّهُ لَنْ يُضَيِّعَ اللَّهَ لَنَا, or something like that, which means that in that case Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not lose us. Okay, which is basically she's trying to say that he will not abandon us or leave us. Okay, and so she goes back, and it's almost like she's relieved to hear that this is not something that Ibrahim alayhi salam is just doing, but this is something that he's been ordered by Allah to do. So it's almost like they are being left here under instructions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once she hears that, she's satisfied. She doesn't need any other consolation. She doesn't need any other information after that. She doesn't need anything else, basically. That's all she needed to hear. Again, there's a lot of lessons for us to learn in just this portion of the story. A lot of us, we find ourselves in situations which are really puzzling, okay, which are mind-boggling. Sometimes life, it gives us situations where you think, this is really strange. I mean, what am I supposed to do now? But if you continue to have trust that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has put me in this situation and he will take me out of this situation, that is all you need. That is your strength to get through that situation. And that strength comes from your relationship with Allah, from your connection with Allah, and from your trust in Allah. You will see all three stories that I'm going to mention here. Ultimately, it becomes about you and Allah. And that's what I want you to reflect on during these days of Dhul Hijjah. You need to reflect on your situation with Allah, your status with Allah. Where are you in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is your relationship with Allah? These are the things that you want to reflect on as you think about the life and the stories of Ibrahim alayhi salam. If we carry on with the story of Hajar alayhi salam, so obviously her supplies finish and run out, and now she needs to feed the baby, and there's nothing. So she goes to Safa, she climbs up, she calls out, no response. She runs between Safa and Marwa. She gets up to Marwa, and she goes up and she again calls out, and she finds nothing and no help, and then she comes down. Now, normally, I guess we would go up one hill, go up another hill, and we would realize that that's it. There's no point of carrying on because there's nothing, right? But she doesn't stop. And she has got, you see, when she's doing these actions, she is doing them with yaqeen. She is doing them with confidence and with, I guess confidence is the best word to use, but with confidence and full trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make a way out for her in this situation somehow, and that they're not going to be left to die like that. And so she carries on running, and every single time I do say, I can't help but think about, the thing with us is we hear these stories, and for us it's just a story, right? But we have to try and think a little bit deeper, and we have to remember that these are human beings. They are not superhumans. They are human beings like you and me. They have a heart, right? They have a chest and they have a heart. They have feelings. They have emotions. They have fear. they have sadness and happiness. They feel these things, right? I mean, if you put yourself in this situation, that's what I'm saying, that, you know, whenever I'm doing say, I can't help but think that what must she have been experiencing to see that her baby is lying on the floor, crying, about to die, if she doesn't find anything, right? These are real human beings with hearts and feelings and sadness and grief. They experience emotions just like us. But look at her conviction and her connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, you know, this is a woman who was not even Muslim to start with. You know, she becomes Muslim after she comes into the possession of Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? And so, you know, she does not even for a moment think anything bad or anything negative, right, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She can see her baby crying and, you know, about to die, right? And she just carries on. She just carries on until she hears Jibreel alayhi salam, and he strikes the earth, and the strike is so deep that until today there is Zamzam gushing out of the earth. And then she goes and she tries to contain it, and she drinks and she nurses her baby, and then people settle down and Makkah becomes a bustling city. But before this there was nothing. The other interesting thing about Makkah that's worth mentioning is that this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's house is built. This is the place where everyone has to go at least once for pilgrimage. This is the place where we repeatedly want to go to see the house of Allah, to visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, from the entire earth, right, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made such beautiful destinations, right? You see places with green mountains and hills, and you see beautiful lakes and rivers, and you see all these beautiful, you know, fields of tulips or roses or flowers, and, you know, all of this, right? And where does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose the location for his house? He chooses it in a barren valley, right? Where there is nothing. The terrain is so rough. It is so difficult. It's up and down and mountains and hills and it's dry, sand, heat, scorching heat, right? This is the place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for his house. Can anyone think and tell me, what do you think could be a wisdom behind this? I'm not saying that it is, but I'm just saying it could be.
Center of the earth?
Yes, excellent, Alia. If this was a location where there are trees and gardens and lakes and rivers, yeah, we will go to see Allah's house, but why will we also go? We will go just to enjoy the location, right? We're going to think that, oh, this place is amazing, it's beautiful. You know, once I'm done with seeing the Kaaba, I want to go and, you know, stay by such and such lake, or I want to go for a walk in the hills or in the forests, or, you know, whatever. But the way this is located, you will not go to this area for anything else. There is nothing attractive, nothing inviting about this place except for this one cubicle building in the middle of this valley, right? And it's amazing that there is nothing, you could say nothing ostentatious about this building, or, you know, it's a simple cubicle building, right? And the attraction that it has on people, the magnetic pull that it has on us, you know, you can't get your eyes off it. You don't want to leave it. As you're leaving, you feel this pull. You just want to stay. It's like at least I feel that every time I go there, I feel that my body comes back home, but I leave my heart behind every single time, right? This is, again, if you think about it, it's all about your focus and you and Allah. And like somebody said, no distractions, take away all the distractions. This is about you and Allah. The last story I want you to think about, and then we'll wrap up inshallah, is when Ismail alayhi salam comes to an age where now he is able to accompany his father, okay? And he's able to sit with him or, go places with him. Ibrahim alayhi salam is instructed through a dream to slaughter him. Again, I want you to think, these are human beings with hearts and chest and feelings and fear and hope and love. Okay? And Ibrahim alayhi salam does not flinch even once. Not only does he not question it, or not only does he, not refuse to do it or anything like that. He doesn't even ask Allah for an alternative. Like, he doesn't say, okay, Allah, I'm ready to sacrifice him, but I can't do it with my own hands because this is my own child. Could you get somebody else to do it? I'm ready to sacrifice him, but I just can't do it myself. Right? And this is such a huge test. It makes his test of being thrown into the fire look like a walk in the park, literally. Slaughtering his son is a huge, huge test for him. Right? This is a sacrifice that he needs to make. And if you think about it again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to take the life of his son. That is not the purpose of this test. And this is something we need to think about in our lives. When we are tested, it's not because Allah wants to make our life difficult. It's not because Allah wants to make things complicated for us. When this test happens with Ibrahim alayhi salam, what is one of the main things that Allah is testing him here for, or seeing here? Anyone? Yes, you could say that, submission or obedience, but basically Allah is trying to see that, do you love your son more or do you love me more? Right? And I keep saying this, it's all about you and Allah. Whatever test you are going through, it's about you and Allah. And if you can't see it directly, if you think about it and you reflect and you try and analyze it, you will see that whatever test you are going through, it is about you and Allah. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tested Ibrahim alayhi salam by asking him to sacrifice his son, right? I want you to reflect and think, what are the sacrifices that you are willing to make for Allah? Right? Nobody is asking you to, put your child on the altar and take his neck off or take his head off, right? We are asked for smaller things, much smaller things, and we find them so difficult to do until we understand what, how, where, why. Until all these questions are answered, we just find it so difficult to move forward on anything that we have to do. So we need to reflect on these things, and we need to ask ourselves that with these tests that Ibrahim alayhi salam experiences, we go through similar things, not the same, but similar, at a much lower level, and we struggle so much. And so we need to learn from Ibrahim alayhi salam. And again, Ibrahim alayhi salam, like I said, he doesn't question it or anything. But you see, in all these situations, in the case of Hajar alayhi salam, she could have been annihilated, right? She would have been dead, forgotten. No one would have ever known that this woman even existed. But you see, when you submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you have good hope and good expectation, and you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you out of the situation, it elevates your status to the point where when you see Hajar alayhi salam, for example, she is commemorated every single second of the day, right? Is there any time when nobody's doing sa'i? There's constant flow of people doing sa'i, right? This is how Hajar alayhi salam is remembered. Constantly, she's constantly remembered, right? There's nobody else who's probably commemorated as much as her. And similarly, with Ibrahim alayhi salam's, sacrificing, there's udhiyah every year during Hajj, right? And you see that in his most difficult times, Ibrahim alayhi salam shows his highest level of iman. And that is what we need to also internalize and inculcate in our lives. That the time that we are being tested the most, and we're going through the hardest time, that is the time that we need to be closest to Allah and have the strongest iman. And that is what will help us to get to the end of that test successfully, right? With a good status in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other thing that we learn from these stories is having certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in his wisdom in times of greatest uncertainty, right? And we all go through these situations in our life, where we feel so shaken up, and that is the time to be the most certain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help me out. He will take me out of this, all right? Okay, and just a couple of things that I wanted you to know, which I mentioned earlier. And since they're connected to Ibrahim alayhi salam, I just wanted to mention, although they are connected to just other general actions. But when Ibrahim alayhi salam is asked to construct the Kaaba, much later on, so when he finishes making the Kaaba, he says, "Rabbana taqabbal minna," right? "Innaka antas samiul alim wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim." So one of the things we learn from this is that you might go into an action with a clean heart, with sincerity, with a good niyyah, but sometimes as human beings, our intentions might change, our feelings might change, right? We might start enjoying praise, we might start thinking, oh, if I did this, people will like me more. I don't know. Sometimes these things happen. So somebody like Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? He's so sincere and he is so committed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when he finishes this action, he says, Rabbana taqabbal minna. Oh Allah, accept this from us. So whenever we do any action, we should try and make it a habit to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us and make istighfar, because it might be, if we had any glimpse of any other thoughts or feelings in our heart, we need to clean our heart of that, because Allah does not accept anything that is contaminated, right? It has to be purely for Allah to accept it from us. And none of us can 100% guarantee. So we need to constantly make istighfar and constantly ask Allah and beg Allah to accept it from us and to keep it pure for Him. Okay, that's one thing. The second reminder I want to say to you is that there are many du'as that Ibrahim alayhi salam makes throughout. And one of the du'as that I feel is a good reminder for us all is a du'a that he makes for the whole of the ummah, right? He says, ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. So here he's making a specific dua, but I'm just encouraging you that when you make dua during these days of Dhul Hijjah, try and include the dua, try and include a dua for the whole of the ummah, right? And when we want khair for ourselves and khair for our families and khair for our immediate loved ones, we should also want khair for the ummah as a whole. And we need to remind ourselves and make regular dua for everyone, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our ibadah during these days. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to get to these days and give us the tawfiq to spend our time in the way that is most pleasing to Him during these days and beyond. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts and give us the strength to continue our good actions even when these days are finished. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. If there's any questions, we'll take them. Otherwise, please forgive me for overshooting the time as usual. But okay, I'm just going to look at the chat box if you have any questions. And Jazakallah Khair to all of you for making time to attend this. I hope, inshallah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this a source of expiation for us, and inshallah at least make the niyyah to do a lot of good deeds so that you are rewarded for your intention. And then if Allah gives us the tawfiq, we will actually be able to do these actions as well, inshallah. Okay, if they want to fast on the day of Arafah, Allahu alam about the question of day of Arafah in different countries on different days, but my heart is just inclined to fasting on the day of Arafah, as it is, defined by the day Hajj is determined in Makkah. So I would just go with that. Allah knows best, but I'll try and look this up and see if I find any other answers. I'll put them on the group, inshallah. Okay, alhamdulillah. If there's any other questions, you're welcome to ask. If you have any comments, any stories, anything you'd like to mention beneficial. Yes, Sister Nazneen.
Sister, I have two questions. One, I would like to be added if there is any WhatsApp group.
Okay, inshallah. Could you just post your number on the chat box, and I'll try and get one of the admins to add you, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah Khair, I will. Also, I have a question. I have 95 days to make up my fast days, for fast days. It was just because of pregnancy and childbirth. And I have strong intention to make them up, and I've been started doing it for a few years in short days, winter short days, but I still have more to do. So I was thinking, if I fast these days with the niyyah of making up my fast, is it a good idea, or it has to be special for just 10 days of Dhul Hijjah?
No, you can fast with the intention of making up your fard fasts, and you'll get the reward for that, and you'll get the reward of having fasted during these best days, mashallah.
Inshallah.
Barakallahu feekum. Anyone else? Anything else that you want to ask? So if there are any sisters who want to be added, if you can just send your numbers on this chat box, I will try and get one of the admin to pick up all the numbers from here, inshallah. Okay. Yes, inshallah, there will be a recording for this talk, and it will be uploaded on my YouTube channel. So I will it will be announced on the group. So if you have any friends who are on my WhatsApp group, I can you can pick it up from there. I would have posted a link for the YouTube channel. Let me try and see if I can do that now. Otherwise, like I said, through contacts, or I will send Shaira the link to my YouTube channel again, and she can share it with all of you who are not on the WhatsApp group. And if any of you want to be added, you can ask Shaira to pass on your numbers to me, She's co-hosting this event, and I'll try and add you onto my WhatsApp group. So normally what we do is, somebody's asking, is we are going through Nawawi's 40 Hadith and Seerah, but we've stopped for the summer, and we might resume in September, inshallah. So
Muallimati, would you mind me asking what your YouTube channel is called?
Yeah, it's called A Talks.
U-double-M.
U-double-M, capital A, and Talks. Yes. Yeah. So I'm just going to try and see if I can put that here. So you can look for it, and otherwise, like I said, I will try and I'll try and send it to Shaira as well, and she can share it with all of you, inshallah. Try and save the chat so that I have all your numbers to add, inshallah. Okay, so someone's posted the link to my YouTube channel, so you can pick that up from here. So yeah, sure, Sister Michelle, if you want to be added, if you can just send me your mobile number on this chat box, and then I'll get one of the admins to pick up all the numbers and add you to the group, inshallah. Like I said, that at the moment on the group, we're just we do some basic we share some basic reminders and things like that, but once summer is over, then inshallah we will share links for the Zoom class that I do. So it's every week on a Wednesday, Seerah 1 week, and Nawawi's 40 Hadith 1 week. Okay. All right, so Shara is going to send me the numbers as well, and then we've got some numbers on the chat box as well, alhamdulillah. Jazakallahu Khair, Shara, for initiating this and hosting. And this was a very beneficial initiative, mashallah.
Jazakallah Khair to you, sister. May Allah continue to bless you with knowledge so you can share with us.
Ameen. Jazakallah Khair.
Hope to have you again soon, inshallah.
Inshallah. And I hope,
really beneficial.
alhamdulillah, Allah added to your mizan of hasanat as well for mashallah. Alhamdulillah. If anybody else wants to share any tips or any points, any stories, any advice, please feel free to. So I'll leave it open for another 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll end it, inshallah, end the meeting. Okay, Jazakallah Khair to, some of the co-admin who have noted all the numbers. So inshallah, I hope that, the list that you've made for yourselves of things that you want to, give up, things that you want to do, that you're able to materialize, inshallah, a lot of those things. Even if you can't do everything that you're planning, if you can even do a fourth, a half, a 3/4 of it, inshallah, as long as when you come out there is a difference than when you came in, then that's the most important thing. Compare yourself to yourself. Sometimes, we compare ourselves to others and we feel inadequate and we feel we're not doing enough, but you need to compare yourself to yourself so that you can see how you've grown, how you're changing, how you're improving. And everybody is growing and improving. And this is, again, like I said, Allah gives us so many opportunities, and it's just for us to take them and to use them and benefit from these blessings. Okay, so once again, Jazakallahu Khairan to all of you for joining us. Okay, what is the best form of sadaqah? Now, sadaqah is of many types, right? You can send your neighbor some biscuits that you baked. That is a sadaqah. Smiling at someone, speaking to someone and saying a good word is a sadaqah, right? Sadaqah is not only in the form of wealth, although that is, a lot of the times how we see it. but sadaqah can be any good thing you do for anyone is a sadaqah. And then, of course, there is in the form of money as well. There are a lot of organizations nowadays which take online sadaqah, and that's really a good, easy way to set something up for the next 10 days where, you're constantly giving sadaqah in case it slips your mind. Try and do it during the daytime so that you get the day of Dhul Hijjah. There are... Nowadays, unfortunately, Muslims are suffering so much everywhere. So you have, organizations of doctors worldwide, or, people who are setting up medical camps and treating and helping people who are sick, etc. So there's one of these called PAC. Again, I'm going to try and post a couple of these links on the group, inshallah. So there are a few hospitals and medical organizations who are doing free medical treatment for people in poor areas, and they just run off donations. So those are some good places. There's an organization called Muslim Hands. They do some really good work. So any organization that you feel confident about, you can donate online. And otherwise, like I said, little good things that you can do. It doesn't have to be money. You could cook a nice meal and send it to somebody who's just had a baby, for example. That's a sadaqah. You help somebody, you take away somebody's difficulty, and inshallah, I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you abundantly. So, udhiyah, I would say... Allah knows best. I will try and look this up again. There's two things that I want to look up, right? About the fasting on the day of Arafah and Udhiyah. I would say it's best to do it where it's most needed. I know some people say it's better to do it where you are so that, people can benefit from that need during Eid. But this is just my sentiment is to do it where it is most needed, where people are really hardly getting anything. But again, it's entirely up to you, inshallah. Yes, sure. So the best deeds are Hajj, dhikr, which is the tasbih, takbir, tahleel, tahmeed, udhiyah, fasting, sadaqah, and I think the other thing I said was dua. So I said good deeds and the day of Arafah. So there's dua on the day of Arafah, there's fasting on the day of Arafah. So those were the main 6 main things that I had mentioned. And then amongst the good deeds, we said a lot of things, right? So we said tawbah, reflecting on your past year and your sins and slips, leaving sins, free your heart of hatred, jealousy. Quran, recite as much Quran as you can. So it's good to have a good aim for Quran during these days, right? So if you can do 1 khatma, if you can do 2, if you can do 3, try and do as much Quran as you can during these days. Try and see if you can finish a full Quran during these days. If you want to finish the Quran in 10 days, you'd have to recite 3 juz a day, right? So if you can do that, then that's excellent. Try and do your faraid on time, kindness to neighbors, parents, tahajjud. So these are some of the things we had mentioned.
Mr. Fakhruddin said the 13th of Dhul Hijjah not to fast, because many of us in India, we think we need to fast. The fight is 13, 14, 15. This Tashriq day, 13 not to fast.
That's right, yeah. So in Dhul Hijjah, you don't fast the 13th. It's haram, yeah. No fasting on the 10th, 11th, 12th or 13th. Inshallah, I think that's about it. So we'll wrap up now, inshallah. Jazakallahu Khair for your patience and hanging around with us until now. I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you all, blesses your families, gives us all the tawfiq to do that which is most pleasing to Him, gives us thabat and istiqamah to stick to these good actions, inshallah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and free us from the hellfire and enter us into His Jinan. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reunite all of us under His Arsh on the Day of Judgment and in Firdaus al-A'la in Jannah. بإذن الله تعالى. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.